everyone, I'm here today with Ben Harding. Ben is a singing coach on a mission to make singing simple and approachable for amateur or hobby singers, especially those who enjoy barbershop harmony. Ben helps singers grow by embracing the basics of healthy singing techniques in an encouraging yet challenging atmosphere. If you'd like to know more about Ben, check out the information and links in the About section below. Hi Ben and welcome.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Kathleen.
Glad you could make it. We're going to jump right into this today because we have a ton to talk about. I've asked Ben to talk about his approach to warm-ups, what he likes to do and when and why. So I'm just going to throw this right over to you, Ben. What do you like to do first as we are getting ready to sing?
Well, you already mentioned that I like to focus on the basics. And so when I approach warming up, the first thing that I do is make sure that I am in the right frame of mind to get good work done for singing. It's really easy to get bogged down in distraction and to think about things that might not be that important at the time for warming up. And so there are a couple of things that I really want to keep in mind anytime I'm warming up. First, keep in mind that this is in fact a warm-up. It's okay if my voice is not at peak performance right at the instant that I start warming up. That's the whole reason we're doing this, right? So all that I really want to ask myself while I'm warming up is, how does singing feel to me right now? And how can I make it feel better? Or how can I make it feel easier? Feel what my body's doing. Observe how my voice is behaving and cater to that. Be gentle, be kind. And so if I come with that frame of mind, then I can start thinking about other basic ideas, like, how am I standing? Am I standing in a way that feels generally comfortable? Am I tight anywhere? Do I have any muscles that are just kind of grabbing on me? If so, let's do some stretches. Let's do a little gentle movement, because the freedom of motion is what's going to give our voice the freedom to perform really well for us. And it's going to help us avoid injury and stay healthy. And so a couple of things that I like to keep in mind when I think about how I'm standing is I ask myself if I am balanced. That's a loaded term. We really don't have to unpack that here because people have a lot of different opinions about it. But the question I like to really ask to clarify for myself, and that's helped a lot of people, is, are my lower legs relaxed? Now, there's this idea in vocal pedagogy and other forms of movement study where we talk about the foot tripod. Effectively, the bony structure of our feet are built like a tripod, and those three legs come down at the ball of your big toe, the ball of your little toe, and your heel. If you spread your weight pretty evenly between those 3 points on each foot, you notice your legs start to disengage as you're standing. You don't need to hold yourself up as intentionally. You just kind of exist in balance on top of your feet. And so rather than micromanaging where I am on the foot tripod, I just ask, are my lower legs relaxed? If so, I'm probably pretty balanced. And that's a great place to start because that relaxation tends to spread its way up your body. But then we also want to make sure that we're not just balanced. We also want to make sure that we're in a good position or set of positions that help us stay relaxed and again give us freedom of motion. And my favorite question here is to ask if the back of my neck is relaxed. There are all sorts of exercises like bend and stacks and various stretches you can do to help find an upright but relaxed place to stand where we're not trying to be tall or rigid in any way. But what I found is if I am standing well, the back of my neck is always disengaged because I'm letting my head balance on top of my neck. If you notice that the back of your neck is engaged, most of the time it means you're either reaching with your chin or letting your head come a little too far in front of your shoulders. So you'll find a little more freedom perhaps if you look a little further back. But those couple of things usually help me find comfort. Again, going back to the original question, how does singing feel? How do I feel as I exist in space right now? And how can I make it feel better or more comfortable or easier?
Right. I really love that idea of just how do I exist? How do I feel as I simply exist? Not pushing not contriving, just let's feel this existence and get things balanced and ready to go.
Right. It's so much of what we run into as singers is our own mental blocks where we are trying to make something happen musically instead of trusting that our bodies have a pretty good idea of how they're built to work and letting them do their thing. So as we relinquish control, usually things tend to go better for us.
So we found this place where we exist and we're feeling it and we're monitoring for tension. What's the next thing that you put your focus on?
Well, if things are feeling good, then I start to think about breathing, making sure that the breath is doing what I want it to, and again, that it feels good. Some of the questions that I ask myself would be still looking for tension. Does my chest feel tight? In between my ribs, do I feel tightness? Or perhaps a pinch between my shoulder blades because I'm holding myself open too much? Do I feel like there's a grab in my throat because I'm pushing too hard on the air? All of these things kind of play into making sure your voice is still relaxing. But as we actually want to start singing, we're keeping the breath in mind, and I would usually start with something like lip trills or gentle humming, something really approachable.
Right, and that will flow right into breath. So quick question, all of the above, where we talked about mindfulness and getting yourself aligned and breathing, it takes a long time to talk about those things, but if you by yourself are just getting ready to sing, how much time would you spend on that you just walked us through?
Assuming it's not a really tense day, like an abnormally tense day,
right?
2 minutes.
Great.
This is maybe even 90 seconds. Most of the time, I'm trying to live in that mindset already. So it's not this, get into my zen, let's figure out how to think well about singing. This is something I try to practice all the time. So it takes very little time.
Yeah, so we don't have to spend many, many minutes. It's just double check once we know what we're looking for.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. So you've done your alignment, your breathing, and what happens next? You said maybe go into lip trills and some things like that?
Right. So as we are working on breathing and getting into more actual singing, what I'm monitoring for is, am I actually using that breath well? So we'll do some lip trills. That helps just get things moving while putting very little stress on the voice. And all the while, I'm just asking myself, how does my voice feel? We're just being aware of how things feel. And I would usually start somewhere very comfortable in my range. For me, that's like maybe an E flat, and I would just hum one note or lip trill one note, and then maybe slide around a little bit further. And as I'm paying attention to my voice, it kind of guides me to say, oh, I'm not ready to go up to that G yet. Let's cool it down, bro. And I will adjust accordingly.
So we're doing some SOVTs, we're doing a little bit of humming.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that's going pretty well. What would you do next?
I usually like to do some slides, but not just narrow slides. I like to slide like maybe a fifth, like ma, or maybe still on a lip trill. And the whole thing I'm processing while I'm sliding around is how consistently easy can this feel. I don't care about how I sound yet. I just want to make sure my voice is waking up.
It's so hard to get rid of that judgment because everything we do is fix this, how can it be better, how can it be better? It's so important, I think, for everyone to hear, like, it's okay, let's just see what the voice is doing and experiment a little bit.
Yes, there is totally a time and a place to really pay attention to the detail of the artistry of what you're doing. I just don't think the warm-up's really that place.
Fantastic. So what would be next?
Well, as your range is starting to feel good, I would take those slides as far into the extremes of my range as I think I'm going to use, maybe even a little farther. And at that point, I'm pretty well warmed up vocally, but that doesn't mean I'm necessarily ready to perform yet, right? There are other parts of singing than just making a good tone. And so usually I would start singing songs that I know are comfortable for me and very easy for me to be very expressive while singing.
So bridge this gap for me. We've gone to from glides and sirens and lip trills to a song. Would you just jump in and sing a whole song? Walk me through that a little bit.
Well, it kind of depends on what fits your voice. For me, I know that from a lot of time singing, there are certain sections of certain songs that my voice loves to sing. And so, since I'm a barbershopper, there are some of the barbershop polecat songs that really sit in my voice nicely, even if I don't pick the key that they want. Things like Sweet, Sweet Roses of Morn, one of my favorite songs. I wouldn't do the whole song. It gets pretty high in the back half. So I'm still easing myself in to the singing. But this is not just keeping my voice warming up, it's also helping me perform because now I have text and meaning behind what I'm doing, not just sound.
That sounds like a really great way to go from just kind of getting things rolling to what is the next most important thing for me? I noticed you didn't jump right into let's fix rhythms and notes. You went, is my voice going? Now can I do it artistically?
Right. It is important to make sure that we are being artistic first, that we are being musicians first, then go in and do the little technical fixes. Because I have been in that spot where I have dove right into my rehearsal and I'm working all those little details and fixing the rhythms, and then I turn on the artistry and all those fixes go away because I wasn't in the right frame of mind. So if we start in a performance mindset, then make our adjustments, they tend to stick more reliably.
I like that. That reminds me of what I do in my quartet. We know that there's a song that every single time we sing it, we've had it forever, and we just go into like this artistic group sound that's there. And so often we're like, okay, we've got this new we've got this new song, let's jump in, let's fix stuff. But I love the idea of like, let's start with artistry, and then we can layer on the improvements.
Sure. And even if you have a song, if we're talking a singing group, if you have a song that works well for all parts, you don't even necessarily need to start singing your parts. You could have everyone come to a note that is commonly comfortable for everyone, or maybe an open interval where multiple people are on the same note, and use that to help get in tune with each other and just focus on the meaning of the words and trying to present that monotone or on a very simple line like that. And it adds some challenge and a little bit of game to the whole thing, but can be very effective for the warm-up.
That's great. Let's say you've connected with your body, you've checked on your breathing and alignment, you've done your sirens and glides and things like that. You've gone through a little selection of a song. Maybe there's an example of one that you can kind of show us what you would do next.
Sure. So one of my favorite songs to sing, I already mentioned Sweet, Sweet Roses of Morn. The song that I go to 9 out of 10 times when it's time to warm up my voice is the beginning of an arrangement of Come What May from Moulin Rouge. And it's a song that my old quartet did years ago. And I don't care if I necessarily sing perfectly in tune or perfectly rhythmically, or I'm not going for perfection. I'm going to try to create some sort of connection with the imaginary people I'm singing to. And so I'll demonstrate, and I don't even know if this is the right key, but it doesn't really matter because we're warming up. Find a spot that's comfortable, right? Okay, so here is a little bit of Come What May. Never knew. I did not like the way I breathed there. The breath itself was not lending to good meaning. Let me try that again.
So would you stop yourself like that and be like, let me try that onset a handful of times?
Exactly. At least, if not a lot of times, at least till I had a couple in a row where that felt good. And I could tell my breath was already starting to tell the story. Okay, so let me try it one more time, at least. Here we go. Never knew I could feel like this, like I've never seen the sky before. That was better. The breath definitely had meaning. I felt as though I was making more of a connection. I I noticed some inefficiency in the tone of my voice. There was a little raspiness there. So perhaps next I would go get a drink of water and not force myself through it. Or swallow a couple of times. You just kind of pay attention to what your voice is telling you.
Right, so it occurs to me that sometimes we'll watch Coaching Under Glass, and we'll watch a coach work with a quartet or a coach work with even an individual. I feel like we don't really have these personal practice sessions under glass and talking through like, here's what I'm hearing in my own voice and here's what I would do about it.
Right.
So you are starting to focus on artistry, but you're also really paying attention to the technical things that will give you that artistry. So it's not like you're throwing all caution to the wind. Your brain is still online. You're still paying attention to what you're doing, but with a lot of gentleness and self-care.
Right. And so part of what this self-awareness that I'm trying to bring to the situation is knowing myself. How well do I know my own technical abilities? I know that I have a tendency to spread certain vowels, certain places, but not really in other spots of my voice. And so as you learn to know your instrument well, it helps you stay engaged in the song while just paying a little bit of attention when you suspect trouble areas may be coming.
And it sounds like if you have a go-to song or a go-to section, then you can kind of start to really intimately get to know that part of your voice with that text, those lyrics, those vowels on those notes.
Right.
You can kind of anticipate when they're coming, make subtle adjustments. It'll get better and better every time. So you're not necessarily doing something completely different at the beginning of every single practice session.
Exactly. And it also gives you a more reliable standard by which to declare, yes, I am warmed up and ready for whatever comes my way. Because I've already done this 75 times in the past few months, however many times you warm up. But like, if you do it repeatedly, you get to know how your voice feels when it goes well.
That's great. So you've got this kind of barometer and you get to it and you think, maybe my voice isn't quite as warmed up as I thought it was when I hit my go-to song. Would you then maybe back up and do some other more warm-up type things, or would you just work through the song a little bit more?
It kind of depends on how much pressure I'm under to get the work done. Because this is very much, I get into a self-care mindset. Because today, I happen to know my voice is a little raspy when I just sang. I also know that I was about 3 hours late in taking my allergy meds this morning. And so there's a pretty good chance that if I keep warming up, it's not going to get that much better. And so I can either say, that's okay, I can get meaningful work done that's not dictated by vocal tone, or I can say, you know what, I'm just going to take my foot off the gas pedal and maybe try again in a couple of hours after those meds have worked their way into my system and I'm not as raspy.
That's such a great reminder that we're working with an instrument that is not exactly the same every time we come back to it. You think about any part of your body on any given day, hydration versus allergies versus how much sleep did I get versus what time of day is it versus what are my hormones doing today? And any given day, you may be in a slightly different place. And what a great acknowledgement to say, it's not going to feel the same as it did yesterday. What can I work on today safely that will still move me forward?
And that's why I think it's so important to have this kind of rubric that we go through that isn't based on a specific set of time or an exact pattern of how many reps of something you're going to do before you move on, but instead we zoom out and say, big picture, how do I feel? Let's just keep tabs on what my voice is doing in this moment and make sure I'm preparing it for successful time singing. And that I can enjoy, not just stay safe, but have fun using my voice.
That's a great way to look at it. I love it. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Ben. There's some great back to basics work involved in this conversation, and I think that gets us so much further than we might think it would.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. It's been an honor.
See you next time.